Emeline Hildebrand was the longtime housekeeper for the Eustis estate for W.E.C. and Edith Eustis. Her domain would have been largely here in the service wing of the house, or in the kitchen. Emeline came to the Eustis estate after weathering several tragedies in her life. She was born in the 1830s in Nantucket, and she married at the age of around 20. She married a mariner locally, and they had one child together who died in infancy. Several years after that, Emeline's first husband died as well, leaving her a young widow. Emeline quickly remarried, and her second husband, who was also a Nantucket native, was the father of her second child, her son Albert, who was born soon after that marriage. Emeline and Albert lived on Nantucket for about 10 years, at which point Albert died of tuberculosis. So she had now lost a second husband. In the 1860s, Emeline married her third husband, who was a Civil War veteran named Levi Hildebrand. Levi came from Pennsylvania, and when she married him, Emeline finally moved off of Nantucket. They lived in Massachusetts, and eventually they had two sons together as well, their sons Harry and George. After 10 years, Emeline lost her third husband. Levi Hildebrand died after a short illness, at which point Emeline was left trying to figure out how she was going to support her three sons as the head of her family. After the death of her third husband, Emeline sent her two younger sons, Harry and George, back to Nantucket to board and attend school. She worked in the greater Boston area, likely as a domestic and housekeeper, before coming to Milton. However, the 1880s brought further tragedy to Emeline as her oldest son passed away, and then her youngest son passed away within 6 or 7 years of each other. At that point, she came to the greater Milton area, where we see her living with her mother in the 1890s, and by 1900 was at the Eustis estate, working as the head housekeeper here. She stayed in the employ of the Eustises for the rest of her life. She lived into her 80s, and we know that the Eustises took good care of Emeline Hildebrand at the end of her life, overseeing her medical care and making sure that she was housed comfortably. This was at a time when a woman who was widowed and was in charge of caring for her family might not have had a lot of social networks in terms of support for herself. So we know that the Eustis family oversaw her care and made sure that she was comfortable in her old age, and saw to it that she, at the end of her life, was buried in Nantucket with the rest of her family.